Oh boy, special episode of Gun Comparison. In this episode, I get mad. Why so mad, you may ask? Well, it's because I get to review the SKS in all its misrepresented glory. Let's go right into the side-by-side comparisons just to get out of the way. Okay, they sound and operate alike, but you can tell they look quite different. Here's the thing. The SKS in Battlefield 3 is basically a highly accessorized 50-year-old gun pretending to be something it's not. It's not a sniper rifle, nor is it a designated marksman rifle. It's simply a semi-automatic rifle in 7.62 by 39 that for all intents and purposes is inferior to almost every modern assault and battle rifle out there today. Let's first start off with some history. The Soviet-designed SKS first started production in 1945, or shortly after World War II. It was a semi-automatic rifle with a fixed magazine meant to replace the SVT-40 and the Mosin Nagants of World War II. It was only produced for a few years before it was eventually replaced by the now iconic AK-47, only a dozen years after its initial production. In this respect, its fate was very similar to the US M14 in that it was quickly replaced by a lighter weapon with a larger magazine capacity. A number of other countries adopted and produced their own variants of the SKS even after the Soviets relegated the rifle to reserve units, namely China and Yugoslavia. Some notable variants include the Yugoslavian M59 with its integrated grenade launcher, and the Chinese SKS-M, a commercial variant that accepted detachable AK-47 magazines sold in the United States and elsewhere during the 80s and 90s. Okay, now you get the history. Now let's explain a little bit more why the SKS in the game is maddening. For one, they dulled it up to make it look tactical. For perspective, there are a lot of import SKSs in the US right now, be it from Russia, China, Albania, or former Yugoslavia. And up until the last 5 years or so, they were mostly under $200 a piece. Not even kidding. You could buy SKS for cheaper than it would cost for a year's worth of broadband. A lot of gun folks like to soup up their SKSs since they came with this beechwood furniture similar to what you see in my hands in the real life video here. A lot of these guys would spend $90 and buy plastic furniture, most commonly made by the company Tapco. Tapco furniture for guns is basically the equivalent of car accessories bought from Walmart. They're inexpensive, but it's understood it's not going to be quality. The SKS in the game has Tapco furniture, and that's most certainly worthy of a facepalm. It even has Tapco 20-round detachable magazines, which replaces the fixed magazine, but is incredibly cumbersome to not only load, but also to store relative to other larger capacity magazines. It's as if DICE did a Google search for tactical-looking rifles and saw this abomination of a gun in the image results and copied it verbatim. You can tell from the image on Battlelog it was a Yugoslavian SKS with its integrated grenade launcher mount and grenade launcher. It even has a bayonet lug for the bayonet. But they took out the bayonet. What's the deal there? I think what's also so hilariously silly about this is the SKS was offered as a part of the physical warfare pack. Sure, if you didn't know what an SKS was, you'd be none the wiser, but for me, this would be like pre-ordering the new Need for Speed game and getting with it a special edition Honda Accord with a rad spoiler. That's how ridiculous it is. Moving on, you may think I'm saying the SKS is some bad rifle. It really isn't. It's a rifle with a milled receiver and a short-stroke gas piston system, so it means it feels solid and has a very controllable recoil. It's a tad more accurate than an AK-47, but its 7.62 by 39 caliber is limiting in terms of long-range accuracy. It's also very heavy, especially with the bayonet attached. Sure, the SKS in-game doesn't have the bayonet, but putting on plastic furniture does not suddenly make it a better rifle, nor does using a fixed versus detachable magazine. The real-life SKS usually has to be loaded with stripper clips, as seen here, or load one cartridge at a time. In this respect, the SKS is more similar to an M1 Garand, like the gun we saw in BFBC2, more so than anything else. Anyway, even though DICE got the basic mechanics of the SKS right, I think the SKS in this game is really stupid. And I say this without even discussing its exaggerated recoil and damage relative to other guns in the game. Alright, I've done enough ranting for this episode, so until next time.